Hello, welcome to Monday Night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. My name is Daniel Cott. I'm delighted to be joined all the way from the Hill Dickinson Stadium by the one and only Scott McDermott. Scott, how's it going?
I'm good, Daniel. How are you? Okay?
I'm very good, thanks. Where's Keith? Is Keith Jackson? Is he on holiday again? Or, I mean, he was back for a day. That is a lot for him, isn't
it? He's grafting away. What words you thought you'd never hear? Keith's grafting away somewhere in this Everton press room, but I'm sure he'll join us before too long.
First things first, Scott. I know obviously you're down there for the Scotland press conference. You've just heard from Steve Clarke and John McGinn. But before that, the stadium, how's it looking? Is it good?
It's brilliant. I mean, it's obviously brand spanking new. It has a strange kind of setting. I mean, I know obviously I've watched games on TV, but until you actually come down and you're close to it, you realise how close it is to the water and the docks. It's not your kind of usual location for a football stadium. And I suppose, listen, it's probably like this with all of the stadiums, but from the outside, you wouldn't know, because it's so new, you wouldn't know, if you were an outsider, you wouldn't know immediately that it's Everton's stadium. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
It looks like kind of it's got a Bundesliga kind of feel to me.
It does, a bit of kind of Allianz about it. And it's not exactly, it's not like blue on the outside, or you wouldn't know immediately that it's Everton's. But listen, that comes with time, obviously. As I say, it's brand new. Certainly the inside, we've not been out onto the pitch or anything yet, but coming into the stadium, we've just come out of the press conference. I mean, the media facilities are outstanding, as you can imagine. Pretty high kind of security getting in here as well, which is we're not really that used to. But no, really impressive so far. So I can't wait actually for the game tomorrow. Just kind of feel the atmosphere, get into the press box. It should be good.
Aye, as I say, you've heard from the Scotland manager and John McGinn as well. Were they in good form today?
They were. Steve Clarke laughed a few times, which is very, very unlike him. I thought he might be in a wee bit of a mood after the game on Saturday, and obviously there was a wee bit of booing at full time. He spoke about that, but no, he was actually in decent. He was actually in good spirits, and one of the kind of main talking points, if you like, from the press conference was the fact that I think at the start of May, he's actually going to name a 55-man squad. It's like a FIFA requirement for the World Cup. But I mean, it sounds ridiculous. I mean, we were obviously joking. I think if I hit the gym and get the boots on, I might have a chance of getting in. Getting in his number 54 or 55. But that's going to be really interesting. Obviously, for the 55, he's got to narrow it down to a 26 for the actual tournament. But just to actually see 55 names is going to be interesting, because that just seems so many players. I mean, we were joking, and you might get some championship players in it. That squad's that big. It'll be interesting to see what names he comes up with, and then obviously how he whittles it down. But the flip side of that is, we also asked him about it. I think Steve Clarke, Daniel, pretty much knows the majority of that starting 11 against Haiti for the first World Cup game in his head just now. He kind of hinted at that, and he said, "Yous will probably know most of the names, but no, there is a fair bit of time to go before the World Cup opener." It's a terrible thing to say, but usually in the build-up to these tournaments, you get one injury, one kind of probably bad injury that rules a player out. We've suffered for that in the past. I remember Euro 2020, Kenny McLean got injured just before the tournament, which was a big blow to him and to us, obviously. So there could be changes, but he's picked a 55-man squad. I think me and Keith were driving down here the day, going through some of the names. You pretty much know. I reckon, honestly, I think you could pick 22 of the 26 just now.
I think so.
There's maybe 3 or 4. I mean, we spoke about guys like obviously Finlay Curtis is in this squad. Somebody like Connor Barron maybe could come into it a bit later. He's obviously just come back from injury at Rangers. He kind of, I think there's a feeling Barron gives you something a wee bit different in midfield to the guys that we've already got. So there's one or two spaces up for grabs. I think I think my message to players would be, if you're named in that 55, don't get too excited just till you get that call.
Just on that, Scott, I mean, a couple of players that come to mind for me, and I assume they probably weren't talked about in the presser today, but just to get your take on it, players like Ollie McBurnie, maybe even Ollie Buck, do you think they've kind of the kind of ship has sailed for them in Scotland, or?
Well, I mean, look, they'll definitely be in the 55. You have to.
I thought so.
I'd be if I was them, I'd be worried if I wasn't. I'm surprised, at least one of them didn't get a call for this squad. Probably more so McBurnie, just with the kind of, just with the lack of strikers that we've got. I actually interviewed him a few weeks ago, and certainly he feels within himself he's in the very best form his career at Hull. He's scoring goals in the Championship. He's obviously got international experience. When you forget, Ollie McBurnie was one of the goal scorers that night in the penalty shootout in Serbia that got us to the Euro 2020. So he's got that experience behind him. I think he's older. He's a bit more mature. He's settled down a wee bit off the pitch as well. So I'm surprised he didn't, or Steve Clarke didn't want another look at him. But look, you're asking me, is their ship sailed? I think they'll make the squad for the World Cup. Probably not. I think they'd have probably had to have been in this one. I mean, you can't really let it out, as I say, with injuries and stuff. But I think they might struggle to get into the final selection now.
Aye. Some comments are coming in, and if you're watching at home, you want to get involved in the conversation, please do so. Julio says, how about for one match only, put out an attacking team with an attacking attitude? Go for it. What's the worst that could happen? Was there any suggestions, Scott, about the lineup for tomorrow night? I know Steve Clarke said after the Japan game there'd be 6 or 7 changes. Did they give any kind of insight?
No, I didn't get any clues or any pointers. Just that, as you say, there would be change. I think he wants to look at most of the guys in the squad. I'm pretty certain. I spoke to someone today. I'd expect, for instance, Ross McCrory to get a game tomorrow night. Probably at right back.
No.
No, that might be a wee bit harsh on Nathan Patterson, because I think Nathan Patterson needs games and needs minutes. I think that showed at the weekend. And again, when you think of the World Cup squad in the right back slots, I think it's pretty nailed on that your two right backs would be Aaron Hickey and Nathan Patterson. If the two of them get back to being fully fit. But I just think Steve Clarke wants to use this game to look at a few different options. So I think he'll have a look at McCrory. I think Dominic Hyam might get some minutes as well. You expect Finlay Curtis to get some more minutes. And I said in the show last night, I'd be really disappointed if Lennon Miller doesn't get a start in midfield. We kind of know, we pretty much know what our kind of first choice midfield is going to be. We know what guys like Gilmour, McTominay, Ferguson, McGinn can do.
Yeah,
Lennon Miller, I know it's his first season in Italy. He was obviously out of the team at the start of the season. He got a wee run in the team. I think he stepped out the team again in recent weeks, but that tends to be what happens when young players go to Serie A anyway, so I wouldn't be overly concerned with that. I think he deserves to get a start and for people to get a look at him, because I would hope that he will be in the final 26 when Clarke comes out to picking it. So no, I think he'll use most of the squad. I think we'll see a lot of changes, and guys will get an opportunity to impress tomorrow night. And what will be a tough fixture, I think, against Ivory Coast. It's not going to be easy. I think they beat South Korea 4-0 at the weekend. Get through their squad. There's a few Premier League players, guys that we know. It's going to be a really tough fixture for us.
Aye, absolutely. I mentioned at the top of the show that we could hear from John McGinn from his press conference that just ended not too long ago. Let's have a listen.
You always have the belief and the confidence that you would be this kind of talismanic figure within the Scotland team?
No, not at all. I'd be lying if I thought that I would get 84, 85 caps. One was enough. and the first one was a huge surprise. So at that time, did I envisage becoming such an important member of the squad? Absolutely not. But it fills me with immense pride, and still feel I've got a lot left to offer.
Just a final one for me, in terms of the World Cup looming, how conscious are you specifically about the significance of that event and grabbing this opportunity for you personally?
It's obviously a huge opportunity for all of us to show what we can do on the biggest stage, represent our country. But for me, fortunately, in between then, I've got massive games for the club, so it lets me kind of take my mind elsewhere until the summer. So still a lot of football to be played, but for guys like myself, Kenny McLean, Robbo, it might be the last opportunity to show the world what we can do.
John, how key is this game, and what maybe needs to change from Saturday for Scotland to get a positive result?
It's a completely different challenge for us again. We've got the luxury of not playing a playoff, so we get the chance to play against African opponents for the first time in a long time. The main aim for us is obviously to try and prepare for the Morocco game, and this team in Ivory Coast give us the best chance to try and prepare for that. They're a different style of team to the Japanese. A few players I know from playing against, a couple from playing with. So it's going to be a big test, but what it is an opportunity for the manager to see new players, give players a chance to stake a claim for the summer games. So while we want to win, because we're aware the friendly records or the lack of victories in friendlies is a little bit alarming, but the priority is to get minutes into the boys' legs, give people a chance to show what they can do leading into the summer, which is the priority for these two games.
How tough a balance is that then? Because obviously there was a reaction on Saturday, but do people have to be mindful that it is a lot about preparation, although the result would be nice?
I understand there's probably needs to be a bit of balance. I get both sides, but I'm sure the manager and those involved will get criticised for not giving people a chance. There's also, we've got to be aware of the standard of teams that we're playing. We can go gung-ho, we can fling bodies forward and get embarrassed. Now that would have been proper boon if that was the case. So the onus is on us to get bums off seats and try and take the game to teams, but we've also got to be cautious, and I think over the years, whether some people enjoy watching it or not, it's what's got us to where we are now and what's made us successful.
I think back to last summer, and there was that defeat to Iceland at hand, but then that preceded obviously a campaign that got Scotland to a World Cup. Do results actually matter in these friendlies?
Don't think I can win with that answer. Well, you'd probably say no, they don't matter, because what matters is getting to tournaments, competing better in tournaments. If we weren't as successful in the qualifying campaign, we'd have two playoffs, which we've become a lot more used to. Do you go into any game to lose or draw? You go into it to win. Of course you do. You've got professional pride and you're representing your country and you want to win. But the priority in these games is to get minutes into the legs for players who aren't playing at club level, which is unfortunately for us quite a few. The opportunity to see players in a Scotland jersey, which in playoffs you might not potentially get that chance. So there is a balance there. Whatever team the manager decides to pick will be good to win. But it's a huge opportunity and a great one, and probably a luxury that we've never had before. So I understand certain frustrations, but we won't actually get a better chance in this.
There was a little bit of frustration from the fans at the weekend at the performance. How much do you understand that, and how important is it to give them, kind of a display that they can really cling on to from now until the summer?
It probably touches on what I'm saying. The balance is right. I know how expensive it is to go and watch football these days. It was flat in terms of probably attacking opportunities from both teams. I don't think, even though Japan probably deserved to win and probably played slightly better than us, I don't think either team created many chances. I don't think friendlies are games where, when there's so many changes, the second half always becomes a little bit bland. but I understand sort of both sides, and then there has to be a realisation that we need the opportunity to tinker a little bit, change personnel, formations and things like that. So I've experienced much worse booing than that during friendlies as a Scotland player. I remember Belgium at home, other matches, and the booing was a lot more deserved then.
John McGinn there earlier on. Before I go into these comments, Scott, any sign of Keith Jackson? Is he still hiding there?
I think he's trying to log on as we speak, Daniel. That might take about 25 minutes. But
I'll get fired into these comments then and get take on these. This one, Green Machine says, John's right. You can't go gung-ho. Football is about levels. We are 38th in the world rankings, so give respect to your opponent. John the Blue Nose says, the performance on Saturday was dire. The Steve Clark went to dying the hill and never taking the handbrake off. David Bradley says, the same players, same results as the last two tournaments. Nothing new by Clark. See, on that, Scott, and I didn't say this in the show last night, but this whole narrative about Steve Clark never takes the handbrake off and it's going to be the same old. I'm convinced, right? See the game at the last year against Hungary, where we didn't really go for it. Had we gone for it, we'd have probably got through. We'd have probably beaten Hungary. That's got to stick with Steve Clark. And I think presented a similar set of circumstances at the World Cup, he's going to be different this time around. I'm convinced of it.
Well, I would like to think so. And what I'd say, Dan, was John McGinn saying there, about going gung-ho and about the different approach, they need to be hard to beat. And I get all that. But I said last night on here, that's fine to get to the tournament. Like MD will complain and qualify about how you play because it's just a case of you need to get there. Right. I just think when the hard bit we're actually at a World Cup, then you can take the handbrake off a bit. Surely, you need to go and enjoy the tournament, and try and attack the tournament. I mean, every player has spoken about making history and getting through the group stage. I don't know if you're going to do that with the kind of approach that we've had at the previous two. Well, listen, the previous two tournaments it hasn't worked for us. So I just think once Scotland get there, they need to be they need to be a bit more adventurous. For the punters, for the players to enjoy it, to feel part of the tournament. I remember when we left Germany in 2024, the overriding feeling was that we hadn't actually taken part in the tournament. I mean, the fans had taken part.
No, you're right.
They were brilliant with the atmosphere and the kind of what they created around the games. But in terms of the actual games themselves, you come away from it thinking we haven't made any sort of indelible mark on this tournament with our performances, and that has to change. That has to change. And listen, if Steve Clark decides that means going ultra defensive and picking up 0-0s or a point, and it gets us through, maybe people probably not complain, but I'd probably like to try and see us go the other way and go and try and win games, go and try and beat Haiti in the first game with a couple of goals, and give yourselves the best possible chance to get through.
You can see on your screen now, we're joined by the one and only David Moy. Oh no, it's Keith. Keith, how's it going?
Wow. Hi, all right. That was we're running about, well, pants on fire here, Daniel, or hair on fire, sorry. Trying to organise it. I was just about sitting down in the same area as Scott, and then I realised I was getting feedback, so I've had to jump through into. So yeah, I'm basically sitting in David Moyes' seat right now, and it's only a matter of time till some security comes in.
I obviously get a starting slot, and Jacko's the sub. So can he sub on for me now, man?
You can do that if you want.
I've done my bit.
It's good because you need to use these friendlies to give guys that's got a bit of game time. Really, when the programme's starting to go badly and the result looks in doubt, you bring on the big hitters.
I really hope I've grabbed my opportunity. Cheers, Daniel. Thanks.
Get minutes in those legs. Cheers, Scott.
Right, cheers, mate.
I'm sure he told you there, Daniel, that Steve Clark has just announced the interesting line that just filed online is that he actually has to put together a 55 name squad before the end of May.
We could do it.
Well, I think Scott would struggle. I think I've got every chance.
You've got every chance. Absolutely. We've got some comments specifically for you, Keith. The first one is from our old pal Gianni. He says it's glad to see Keith finally allowed into a stadium again, albeit he's had to go down South England to gain access, which I thought was funny. A few people, Keith, are asking, ask Keith, why is the game played at Goodison? Is it just a marketing thing for Everton's new stadium, or?
No, I think what happened, because it's happened before, if you remember, we were down before Nigeria went to a World Cup. They had a game against us, and it was at Fulham Stadium.
I think
that was God, I'm trying to think how long ago that would have been. But we played. So I think the African nations, because they've got so many European-based players, they play a lot of their home friendlies in England.
British soil, yeah.
Premier League stadiums. So this is really an Ivory Coast home game.
I get you.
And yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward. I've not been outside yet. We've seen inside the place, and it's very nice. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the stadium looks like and feels like tomorrow night. I think we're expecting about 35,000 in the stadium. So not capacity, obviously, by any stretch. I think the capacity is 53. But yeah, it should hopefully, fingers crossed, be an enjoyable game of football to watch. Because, as I'm sure Scott was saying there, we didn't get much of that at the weekend, did we?
Aye. Green Machine says in the comments, by the way, it's £12 a pint in that stadium, so just make sure Scott gets the first round then.
I'll make sure that he does. Bear in mind, guys, that we're here to work. I wish we could just sit and have a pint.
Aye, that's true. People don't realise, Keith, the work we put in, you know.
Oh man, what a stressful day we've had today. I don't know if Scott told you anything about the travelling day that we've had.
He didn't actually mention it, no?
Oh man, honestly. See, you know that the Shawshank Redemption. Remember the old boy Brooks was here.
Brooks was here. That's
kind of how I'm feeling about modern life. The technology, everyone's failed. Oh, I mean, the drive down the road, fine, not a problem at all. You think that, and then when you get here, that's when the problems start. You need a QR code for this. You need this for that. So I'm kind of at the end of my tether, and I've not even started doing my writing yet.
Oh, God. Well, maybe the viewers from the Hotline Live will cheer you up.
Yeah, probably.
I've just been spreading my theory, Keith, to Scott there before you come on. I didn't see it in last night's show, but some of these comments coming in. Blue Nose John says, I live in Germany. The performances at Euro 24 were embarrassing. I was just saying to Scott that it's my personal belief that in Germany, that Hungary game, where, let's be honest, we didn't really go for it. We let the chance pass us by. We could have beaten Hungary. We didn't. I think that's got to live with Steve Clarke and the senior players, and it's not going to happen again. No chance.
Listen, John McGinn was sitting in this very seat not half an hour ago, Daniel, saying exactly that they know that they've let themselves down and that there's a real frustration that they haven't turned up in the tournaments. He said, we've earned our places there because we've qualified. But when we've got there, we haven't performed to the level that they expect of themselves. So I think that is an itch that needs to get scratched. But I tell you, we were talking about this last night, weren't we, Dan? And I mentioned that I didn't like Steve Clarke saying that he felt the friendly weekend against Japan was going to be a low-scoring game. And do you know something? It wasn't until we come off the show I was thinking, I've heard him say that before, and I didn't like it then. And you know when it was? It was that Hungary game. He said this was only going to. He said, I told the players in advance, thought it was only going to be a one-goal game, and I don't like that. And I'm a little bit concerned that he's using the same sort of phrases and discussion points with the team now that he was at the Euros, because I felt that was a very negative way to go into that game.
Yeah,
it's almost as if we won't need to score twice.
Aye,
and why not?
Exactly.
And I think Scott, because me and him were discussing the way down the car, what we want from Scotland now is, right, do you know what? Let's go and have a bit of fun. Let's enjoy this. Don't be terrified by it. Don't be scared by it. Don't be overawed by it. You're good players. Go out and play. Go out and enjoy it and give the fans something to enjoy. And I think that's why there was a bit of a negative reaction. Steve Clarke was lensed tonight to say he feels it's the media exaggerated it a little bit. But we didn't exaggerate it, Steve, because you sat there and you said that you were disappointed. And in Steve Clark terms, that's almost a volcanic reaction, isn't it?
Aye.
So that is an issue, and I just hope that the fans can stick with this, and I hope that Steve Clark is also able to realise and identify there is an onus now. We've got good players, so let's just go out, get the shoulders back, puff out the chest, and let's go out and show it. And I think, we were talking to John McGinn. That's exactly the kind of stuff that he was saying. Players just want to go out there. He said this could be our last chance to show the world how good we are. And he was talking about the likes of himself, Andy Robertson, some of the more senior guys. They might never get this opportunity. They're itching to get out there and grab the bull by the horns. We need to have the manager needs to be in a position or a mindset where he's prepared to just let them go and do that.
Aye. In the comments, you lower him up. It says, need to go all out attacking against Haiti, get as many goals as possible. Amen to that. Rebel says, the world was so nice in the Northeast, Keith. You know, needed agree to order your dinner or to get into any event.
I'm with you, Rebel. Yeah.
That's it. Keith, I was just asking
unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It's technology that's meant to make your life easier, and all it does is make it harder. And I don't like it.
Okay, thanks, Grandad. Moving back to the football, tomorrow night I got Scott's take there about who could come into the 6 or 7 changes that Steve Clark mentioned from the Japan game. He mentioned that he would be really keen to see Lennon Miller get a start. Is there anyone else that you personally would want to see get some minutes?
Yeah, well, you know what my thoughts are on that. I'm going to start with Billy Gilmore, aren't I?
No, of course.
I mean, he has to play, and I'm just a little bit worried that Steve Clark has got this sort of thing with Billy Gilmore where he keeps trying to find a way to keep him out of the team. And
it's peculiar, Keith, because in my mind anyway, he's one of the best 2 or 3 players.
Another thing Scott and I were discussing in the car on the way down the road. See, when Billy Gilmore played against England at Wembley in Euros, or it was 2020, it was 2021, by the time we actually got round to playing the game. What was he, 17, 18? He went out there and he dominated England's midfield on the road.
No, he was brilliant.
And see, from that game, he should never, ever, from that moment onwards, you just say, right, how do we build something around this guy? That's what we should have done. But Steve Clark, I don't know, maybe it's overcomplicating, overthinking, but he seems to want to find different ways of leaving him out of a team. So I imagine that he'll definitely be one of the starters tomorrow. It'd be good to see him getting game time and re-establishing himself, because he's getting a game now regularly again at Napoli. Become a really important player. Back at club level, having kind of slipped onto the bench or struggled to get as much game time as he would have wanted previously. But he's in Conte's midfield now. I'm looking forward to him bossing ours tomorrow. Who do I want to see?
Even just saying that, Keith, he's in Conte's midfield for Napoli. He's won Serie A, and we're even having a debate. Oh, does he start or not? He should be in every starting 11 in my eyes. Well,
do you know, and I love Kenny McLean, right?
Me too, like, brilliant.
He's been a brilliant contributor to this squad, a massive part of all the success that we've had. But he's a Norwich City player for a reason. And Billy Gilmore's an Napoli player for a reason. And I'm struggling with it. I think it's requiring mental gymnastics to arrive at in a place where you think that that's a good idea to leave Billy Gilmore out of the team for a guy, as I say, with the best will in the world who plays for Norwich.
Well, Keith, look at Rebel's comment there. Is that fair? Has this been harsh on Steve Clark? Billy's very creative. That's alien to a manager. Is that a bit harsh on Steve Clark?
Well, Billy's very creative. Billy Gilmore he's a guy that dominates possession, and if you're going to have any success at this level of football, you need to be able to keep hold of the ball. It's the first rule of international football. And I tell you something, Dan, when you think about the temperatures that our boys are about to encounter at the World Cup, where you would be struggling for air out there, I tell you what, it doesn't half help if you've got a couple of players that can keep the ball for 5 minutes.
Definitely. Right.
And that's what Billy Gilmore gives you. And Kenny McLean is very good on the ball as well, and very good at retaining possession. But he's not Billy Gilmore levels, and that's the issue. Who else do I want to see? I'd be really interested, having brought Finlay Curtis into this squad. Let's see him. Let the young man get out there. I thought he came on to the game against Japan. 10 minutes to go. The game was already getting away from Scotland a little bit by then. Let's get him on the pitch and let's see if he can play his way into contention for a seat in the plane. I think that would be interesting. You'll probably see a change around at centre halves. You might see a different goalkeeper. But I think that the kind of normal, the key stalwart players, your McGinns, possibly Andy Robertson, although he could play Kieran Tierney. Certainly McGinn's, McTominay's. I wouldn't expect to see them sat on the bench for the first half tomorrow night.
Aye.
I think so. It's about fitting in players around it. And Steve Clark seemed to be suggesting tonight that he might have worked on a specifically designed system for this game against Ivory Coast, having studied the way that they play. So we might get something completely different, something that we weren't expecting in terms of the strategy and the tactics. So, but the personnel, I think he'll try and get as many players onto the pitch and picking up caps as he can, but not, throwing the baby out with the bathwater in the process. I think first things first, it'll be interesting to see what the formation and sort of strategy is, and then the personnel will fit in around it.
It seems pretty pointless, Keith, to ask you for a prediction ahead of a friendly match, but just generally, do you think we'll get a good result tomorrow night? Do you think it'll be an improved performance?
I just want a good performance, Daniel. I mean, I think we don't want to get too overexcited about results and the fact that we don't win friendlies and the fact that we kind of lost momentum ahead of the last tournament, which is a bit of a concern. I'm not going to get hung up on the result. My worry is that Ivory Coast took 4 off South Korea at the weekend, didn't they?
No.
Which tells you about the levels that we're likely to come up against. Scotland, as I can't say that though, and then kind of U-turn on what I said previously about, we've got good players of our own. We don't need to be fearful of anybody. We should be able to go out there and have confidence in our guys to give anybody a game.
Mm-hmm.
So just as long as we get a sort of a braver, more aggressive performance level, I think that'd be a good starting point. Win the game would be terrific. You obviously don't want to suffer a bad, heavy loss. But I don't think we will. If we go out there with the right mindset and a right strong 11, and we're aggressive and we're brave and we're bold and we do all the right things in the game, then I don't think it's unreasonable to think we could get a decent result to go with it. But it's all about performance level tomorrow night.
Very last thing before I let you go, Keith. One domestic issue I want to get your take on. Scott Brown has left United. When he came into the Hotline Live studios at the start of last season, he felt kind of then, Keith, to me at least, he was the new darling of Scottish football management. He was obviously approached the St Johnstone job, kind of looked like he was maybe going to take care into the Premiership at some point, or at least have them really going close. It's kind of fallen away a wee bit.
I think it's been a bit of a grind, especially this season for Scott. Ayr have shown a level of ambition in terms of the facilities and the money that's been invested into training ground and the improvements to Somerset Park. But I think that he's probably suffered a little bit because that money being ploughed into the areas of the club that needed the investment. I don't think he's had a realistic level playing field opportunity on the pitch in terms of his budget up against the others. Mm-hmm. And I think it's become a bit of a grind. I don't think there's any kind of breakdown in relationship. I think they've kind of reached the conclusion that it's best for a partner of the ways. I think there were long days for Scott Brown. I think he was leaving his house in Edinburgh at 5 a.m, and not getting back till 8 o'clock at night every day. And that can be a grind, especially when you're not winning the amount of games that you want to win. and when promotion is looking more and more difficult. And I also think, obviously, it was a bad result for them on Friday night, wasn't it, when they get beat with Wraith Rovers. But at that point, Daniel, I think Scott Brown was operating with a squad of 12 fit players.
Wow.
Because decisions had been taken at club level to work with a small squad. So if your starting point is you've got a squad of 17 and then you get some injuries, you're probably going to struggle to beat a team like Wraith Rovers, who have bigger budget, bigger squad, and ultimately I think it's probably felt to Scott as if it's becoming a little bit impossible to deliver on the expectations. Ayr United are ambitious, but until they actually look at ways of improving the level of investment that they can have with the first team squad, I think most managers would struggle to deliver them into the top flight of the Scottish game.
Aye, absolutely. Well, listen, Keith, I think that brings us to the end of Monday Night's Hotline Live, brought to you by NordVPN. I should say thanks very much to Scott McDermott as well for rushing on at the start after the press conference. Thank you for all of your tweets and comments at home. And Keith, it's always an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel. Right, I'm away to write some stuff and then have a mental breakdown.
Enjoy. We'll be back at 6 p.m. tomorrow. If Keith's still with us, hopefully he'll be there too, and hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.